Model Context Protocol, or MCP. It's all anyone seems to be talking about these days. And the question I have for myself, and you might be having, is what the heck are these things, these MCP servers? Why do we care about them? How are they going to help me develop things better and faster, give me more insight? And how do I even configure the tools like Visual Studio Code to use these MCP servers? Well, that's what I want to do today. I want to break down at a high level what the heck MCPs are, why you might want to use them, and set up Visual Studio Code to use it with GitHub Copilot. So let's get into it. All right, Model Context Protocol. What the heck is this thing and why do you care about it? All right, at a very, very high level, think of it like this. There's a bunch of different things, like your computer's file system, OneDrive, Google Drive, Figma, GitHub. They all have different APIs that they can kind of loop into because they want to sort of send up a bunch of different commands, right? So maybe like getting files, maybe getting pull requests, maybe getting issues, creating issues, right? All of them have different APIs. But if you have an agent or an LLM, how do you have it talk to all of them? Well, you do that through a standardization or a protocol, a model context protocol. What you want to do is have the LLM models be able to call in to different services or other agents that also can perform actions. And that's at a high level what it is. It's a standardization or a middle layer between like the APIs of GitHub or OneDrive or Google Drive or Figma or something like that these models can talk to, such as the GitHub Copilot agents, for example. And they can execute additional commands. That's all it is a really, really high level. Now, these MCPs also have servers that basically run on your machine that those agents can talk to, or a machine somewhere, right? So for example, if you're inside of GitHub Copilot, you would be talking to different MCP servers that are running and configured to your preferences. So you configure the services that you use. There are additional tools in the toolbox, if you will, that you can use when you're developing. So that's really cool. So for example, obviously, inside of VS Code, you can already, create pull requests. You can, look at them in the different extensions, but you might want it to perform actions for you, like create a bunch of issues in real time, provide additional information, maybe pull from a different service and pipe data in, attach a file, things like that. That is what these MCP servers will allow you to do. So what I want to do today is show you how to get up inside of Visual Studio Code with MCP. So let's do it. Okay, the place to start is the Model Context Protocol GitHub organization. This gives you everything, including documentation, specification, discussions, SDK access, and all sorts of good stuff in here as well. So you can create your own servers, but there's also this list of maintained servers. So you can scroll down and you can see a bunch of reference servers. And you can see that some of these are developer focused and some of them aren't, because you can use these in any LLM tool technically. So you can see things like file system, GitHub, Google Drive, Google Maps, Puppeteer, Redis, Sentry, Slack, for example. So you could do these different integrations. Then you can scroll down and you see, official integrations for third parties. So you can see all sorts of different things that are going on here. And you can scroll down even further and you can see community servers. So there's an Airbnb one, for example. There's Airtable, there's Airflow, there's AWS, there's an Azure one, there's Memory, there's BigQuery, there's all sorts of different things inside of here. Heck, there's even one, for example, where is it at? For my CMS that I use for my blog, Ghost, for example, here. There's one for GitHub Actions. There's all sorts of ones in here, right? So let's say we want to get this set up and do one inside of VS Code. So I'm been working on this coffee tracker app that I've been building specifically with GitHub Copilot inside of VS Code. So what we want to do first is I'm going to open up GitHub Copilot chat here. And this is a new sort of mode that you'll see. There's just one chat in different modes. And this is this is Visual Studio Code Insiders. And what we'll see is down here, we have ask, edit, and agent. So ask is just sort of that discussion mode. Edit is multi-file editing. And then we have agent mode. Now, when you go into agent mode in the latest Insider builds, which again, anyone can get, I have both Insider and the normal one side by side, which is great. We can see that I now have this little tools button here. That tools button is going to show me the tools available that the GitHub Copilot chat is using. And by default here, it's a bunch of GitHub Copilot chat ones, right? So it's using the VS Code API, get changes, test failures, terminal selection, terminal last commands, fetch web pages, search views, and a whole bunch more, right? So all sorts of things inside of here that it's using. And MCP servers show up inside of here, so we can add more tools to our toolbox. So I'm going to go into settings there, and let me go and drop this down, and I'm going to say MCP. Now, once you get into the settings, if you already have Claude Desktop, for example, and you have MCP servers running, well, then you can just check this checkbox for auto discovery, and you can turn that on for your user or for your workspace as well. Now, that's optional, but I like to check it because why not? But if you have an mcp.json, or if you set up your MCP servers in settings.json, then it will automatically pick up. So let's go ahead and tap on that. And when I do that, it's actually going to add an MCP server for me automatically, which is the time one, which is sort of a very, very simple MCP server that will use so you can kind of like get your head around it. But what this is doing is it's saying, hey, this is the server, MCP server time, and give it a name. It's going to run this command Python, and it's going to run these specific arguments. Now we can see down over here, we can see that there's this little server, new tool is available, and I can refresh it. Now, when I do so, I get an error. So if I tap on that and I say show output, we're going to see that there was an error that this Python couldn't start up. And that is because I do not have Python installed on my machine. So what to do? Well, first, MCP servers are available in a bunch of different mechanisms. Python, some in .NET, some in TypeScript, and a lot of them in Docker as well. So what I'm going to do is come back over to that server list. I'm going to scroll to the top. There we go. And I'm going to just go down to time. And this is that time MCP server, right? So it has available tools. So think of the server as like the main entry point, and it lists out the things that it can do. So it's going to say get current time, different time zones, and then it can convert times as well. And here's how to install it. So there's ways of doing it with pip or different desktop applications like Claude, for example, and the Claude settings are the same as the VS Code settings because again, it's an open protocol, it's just the same things. So there's one for Docker, there's one for pip, there's one for UVX. Now we want to use, in this case, I'm going to do Docker. So I'm going to copy that there. I'm going to go back into VS Code and I'm going to replace this here. There we go. And I'm just going to indent this a little bit and hit save. Perfect. So now what we'll see is that down here, I have 10 of 12 available. We can see that Visual Studio Code has found that there's this MCP server and it's stopped. Okay. Now all I need to do is just simply start that up and now it's running. Now what that did is if I go over into my Docker desktop is that it started up the MCP time container that it's going to call into basically here. So that's really, really nice. So if you don't want to install additional things on your machine, now I'm just running this inside of a Docker container, which is nice. So now at this point, I can come in, I can say, what is the current time? Again, this is kind of a funky thing to say, and I can see my time currently. But here, it's going to run this command. Now, what happened here is GitHub Copilot chat has identified that it's not running one of its tools, it's running the time one. And it gives me this drop down, and it's saying, hey, like this tool can do what you want it to do, and specifically the UTC time. And we can see that I can continue and run it, or I could also say, always allow this specific one in this session or in this workspace, or allow always. So I'm just going to hit continue here because I always like to see what it's doing before doing it. But there it is. It's 8:18 p.m. on March 22nd, UTC. I could say, what is that in Pacific time zone? And again, now it's going to convert the time from UTC with the ones that I have. Hit continue. Boom. I'm always wondering what time is it in Australia. And now it's going to do the same exact thing. Run it. Boom, boom, boom. Awesome. I could say refresh the time in Australia. Right. So it's going to get the current time. Now it's going to run it. Now in this case, it actually ran it and it passed in, Sydney, Australia here. Right. So that's kind of cool. And, set a bunch of different flags to it too, which is really nice. So that's kind of like nifty. Like, how would you use that? Well, other tools might use it. So for example, if it needed times or we need to pipe something in, maybe actually GitHub Copilot would use it if we're doing something with time in our application. So it could query the time or different things or do validation tests, which would be kind of nice. But let's do something a little bit more hefty. So let's add a different MCP server. Let's go back over here. And I specifically want to add the GitHub one here. And as I scroll down, we'll see that this is a very large MCP server as far as the APIs that it allows. The tools that it has inside of it, ability to create or update files, push files, search repositories, create repositories, get file contents, create issues, create pull requests, fork repositories, create branches, list issues, updates, do a lot more, right? Okay, so this is really, really neat because it can run all of these different things and it's really easy to configure. First and foremost, it's available as a Docker container, which is nice, but also just as a node application, npx here. So for example, here, I could just go ahead and copy this here. And I do have Node installed on my machine. So I don't have Python, but I do have Node. I'm going to go back over here and let's just add this into the list. Cool. There we go. Cool. Now in this case, I need to configure the GitHub MCP server, and I need to give it my personal access token. Now this is important. I've configured a personal access token that allows different actions. So for example, I'm allowing it to create issues or do pull requests, and you have different scopes there. So I'm going to paste my personal access token or PAT into here. Now, well, in this case, I'm just going to paste it in for demo's sake. One thing that you can check out is actually using input variables, for example, which you can configure and then pipe those into it. Not only can you use input variables to do this, like in the sample from documentation, but also you can add different launch JSON attributes, for example, too. So you can create these configurations, and then you can make sure that those aren't checked into source control or anything like that. So that would be sort of more of a best practice that you can do instead of just pasting it directly into this file. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pasted it in. You'll see there's a bunch of new tools available to me. So there's all the ones that we just saw right there, okay? So now let's go ahead and, say we were working on an issue inside of this app. So here I could say, is there any issues open in the .NET/MAUI repo about camera pickers? I don't know, something like that. I'm just going to ask it a random question, right? So now it's going to search issues and it's going to look specifically here. So it's going to take a look at the repo and it's going to return some issues back to me and see if it finds anything here. So it's going to run those commands and let's see what it does. Now, the interesting part here is that it's going to take that information and then, of course, use the model that I have selected to summarize that for me. So it's going to find those top issues that I might want to work on inside of here. Okay, so maybe I want to look at like pull requests that are open here. Now, of course, there's all sorts of things that I have integrated into VS Code to do these things, but we'll kind of see where this gets interesting here in a second. So what if I said, are there any pull requests open on app coffee tracker? And this is the app that I have open that I'm working on specifically. So I'm going to hit continue here, and this is going to search for different issues or pull requests and say, oh, well, there's an issue because it doesn't know who the owner is. So I'm just going to say, which is mine, own repo. Okay. So now it's going to actually pipe something different into this now here too. So it's going to say list pull requests. I'm the owner. Here's the repo for open state. So this is pretty cool because it is going to now summarize that entire sort of pull request that I have open. It's going to show me the branches and summarize it really nice for me. So that's cool. But again, I could have just like opened, my pull requests here and I could say, well, here it is, right? Here's the actual one. I could look at the issues and all the different files here. So I could have this conversation. I could summarize the changes and a lot more. And that's actually pretty fascinating. I could say on this PR, what are the files changed? Okay. And then what it would do is take a look at those pull request files. And what I think is fascinating here is that while I could specifically go and look at the different changes that I have here, the power of using sort of this sort of agent mode and the LLM together are enabling me to get the summaries of the modifications and everything that's happening inside of it. So that's really, really neat to take a look at. But I'm working on this application. I want to add new features. Maybe I want to add a new feature. Maybe I found a bug and I want to create that issue. Well, of course, I could go over to GitHub. I could go and do that. But I could say, let's create a new issue for a new feature to have a camera option in the app to take a photo of the bag of coffee to see who the roaster is, create it and add details specifically about how I would do this in a .NET MAUI app. Okay, so now what's fascinating is that it's not just pulling information back for me and summarizing it. What it's going to do in this case is use sort of the power of GitHub Copilot. It's going to then run this command with all of this information that it's generated for me and create that issue on my behalf. And that's going to summarize it back here. Okay, so this is what's really neat. So if I go ahead and tap on that, right, so now I can see this here. So we can see the implementation, and it actually added all that information specifically in line for me, which is really, really cool. Now, I don't specifically see 100%. Yeah, it shows me some of the files here, take photos, things like that. That's nice. I could also have it update this issue if I want to have more information. So I say, can you update this issue you created to outline the specific files in a table and what needs to be changed in them. Boom. So now it's going to take a look and say, well, I have this issue that I just created. I've asked it to do something else for me, and now it's going to work on my behalf to implement those changes. And what's fascinating here is that it can also take a look at all of the code files that I have on here too, to use that as well. So here it's going to go and do this. So let's take a look here. Perfect. So now we have these specific files, the changes that I need to do as well. Now, what's cool here is that I could basically add different labels, add different tracking, close it, implement it, and a lot more as I'm going, but I want to add more details as well. I don't have to stop, go back and forth. I'm doing it all right inside of here. Now, the last part of this is that when you pull this all together, I now know what I need to do. I know all this stuff. I could just come in and I'm in agent mode. I can say, let's implement this feature from the issue we created. Boom. And now what it's going to do is now we're in our agent mode, and specifically we are ready to implement the feature, right? So it's going to go off, start implementing everything for me, and it is going to handle all of that implementation based on the knowledge that we've been giving it as we've been creating this. So this is sort of the workflow of combining that agent mode and combining these MCP servers together to get insight. Now, I want to point out here as that continues to go is that there are tons of MCP servers that are out there. I know the Playwright team just released ones if you're doing Playwright testing, but browse through them, see what different services you're using. And what you'll see is that these things will start to work together to perform different actions. So as you add these different servers, multiple can work together as well, which is really nice. Last thing I want to show off is that I've been manually sort of configuring and hitting these start buttons in the settings.json, and you probably aren't realistically going to be doing that. So if you come up to the command palette and you type MCP, you'll see list servers, add server, reset cache, trust tools, things like that. So if I go in and I say list servers, we're going to see the two servers that I have. I can tap on time here, and then I can say start server, show output, or show configuration. So I'm going to start that up. And sure enough, that's not going to start it up. And you can actually see it here in this config, which is great. If I come back up now, say list servers, there it is, there it's running. You can still tap on it and you'll get more information, including restarting that server or showing the output. Perfect. The other thing that you can do too is you can also add them from here too. So for example, if I say MCP and then I say add server, I'll get different information. Like if I want to install from a Docker image, pip package, or npm package here. And this one is actually model assisted too. So here I can say Docker image. I could give it a name. So if I did say MCP/time, for example, it's going to say, do you want to install MCP from MCP? Perfect. You can give it a time. So I'll say time 2. And then here, this is going to say, do you want the user settings or workspace settings? Now, what I found when using this is that it decides what it can do. So here it's actually going to call like this node command and then start up the MCP server. So based on what it's doing on your machine. So even though I did say Docker, it didn't obviously do Docker. I think it's looking at what it's doing inside of the Docker container there. So you can obviously come back in, add different servers, and you could go ahead and add an npm package, for example, directly from here. So multiple ways to configure it. Now, one thing I want to point out here, and I'll put links as well. Nate over here has a great video. This one specifically, how MCP servers make agents smarter. This is what I watch. It's a great watch. I'll put a link to it. Sort of even more great information at a higher level that also goes a little bit deeper than I went in my intro. I want to also point out specifically that you can create your own MCP servers too. I mentioned, if we go back over here, that there were a list of different SDKs. And in fact, just recently, the .NET team released the official C# SDK to create your own servers and clients, which is really, really cool. And you can take a look as you scroll down how to get started, how to create your own clients. So if you want to ingest MCP servers or to create your own server, which is really neat as well. So you can do all of that in C# and .NET. So check that out and I'll put links in the show notes as well. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Quick introduction of MCPs. I think at a minimum, actually at least setting up GitHub, for example, is a great use case for it, but there's a lot of other MCP servers that you can start to integrate into your workflow. Give it a try, grab and install Visual Studio Code Insiders and just get that up and running on your machine. Follow along and give the team feedback as well. This is pretty awesome. I'm enjoying the journey of integrating on these new agent modes and really helping be more productive every single day. If you enjoyed this at all, give it a thumbs up. Give it a subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date every time I put out a video right here on my YouTube. It's going to do it for me. So until next time, thanks for watching.